Welcome back to week 2 of the Daily Dose. Every head coach in the country will tell you that the biggest improvement is made from week 1 to week 2, and we intend on proving that statement true here at the Daily Dose. As always, I'm your host, Jeff Hansen, and the show is brought to you by Give'emHellBrigham.com and CougarSportsInsider.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed, who have liked videos, who have shared videos. Please, if you have not done so, subscribe to the show, like this video. It really helps us out a lot. Today, I want to talk about quarterbacks and specifically what BYU is doing on the recruiting trail to find a quarterback in the class of 2024. I think most people, and potentially even BYU's coaching staff, assumed that four-star Isaac Wilson would end up being part of BYU's recruiting class. Zach Wilson, of course, was a BYU legend. Micah and Josh Wilson. Josh Wilson just left the program, just finished, got his degree, and Micah Wilson is still on the team. All three older Wilson brothers have gone to BYU and had relative degrees of success. I think most people assume the fourth Wilson brother would follow suit and end up at BYU. However, as of May 8th, it looks like BYU is on the outside looking in for whatever reason. Isaac Wilson is taking official visits across the country right now, and BYU just doesn't seem to be in the mix. BYU did go all in on Sunny Slope quarterback Luke Moga out of Arizona, but Luke Moga recently committed to Oregon just a couple of weeks ago. BYU has hosted Maealiuaki Smith, but he's got a number of Power 5 options across the country, and it's difficult to see where BYU falls in line there. And outside of Smith, there's a lot of question marks with where BYU turns at the quarterback position during this recruiting class. We've seen offers go out, kind of unconventional offers for BYU, to Texas A&M commit Anthony Maddox and to Washington commit EJ Kaminong in recent weeks. That isn't something that BYU generally does. They don't generally offer quarterbacks, especially, but any position, players who are committed to other Power 5 programs. Maybe that's because they have just assumed they wouldn't be able to flip them because they had not been a member of a Power 5 program. I don't know, but that is something new that BYU is doing this year. But if you really start to unpeel this onion, maybe it makes sense that BYU and specifically Aaron Roderick are doing something different on the recruiting trail this class. Aaron Roderick is working with a couple of recruiting pitches that no BYU coach has ever been able to use. First and foremost, BYU is going to the Big 12. That's a Power 5 league. BYU's never been in a Power 5 league. They've always been one of the have-nots of college football, and now they get to have a seat at the big boy table, and that changes the recruiting pitch for any coach, of course. But second to that, Aaron Roderick has seen his last two quarterbacks get drafted into the NFL, and Zach Wilson and Jaren Hall. And Jaren Hall in particular represents something bigger than just another quarterback drafted. Hall was the first African-American quarterback at BYU, and as BYU extends their recruiting grounds, that's a message that will resonate as they have to recruit in the state of Texas or recruit outside of the Wasatch Front here in the state of Utah. Unfair or fair, true, untrue, doesn't really matter. Race relations in BYU, that's always been something that has to be discussed, and Jaren Hall represents a success story for a minority playing the premier position within the BYU offense. That's something that BYU, frankly, has never had at the quarterback spot, and that message will help as BYU extends their recruiting grounds beyond their traditional recruiting grounds. Where does BYU go from here? It's difficult to say. They've offered Orem quarterback Lance Reynolds, but even if he does come as a quarterback, he is projected to go on a mission and would not join the program right away. It's going to be an interesting 6 weeks or so here in the spring evaluation period and into the summer camp cycle in June. I think by the end of that period, we'll have a clearer picture of who is the top one or two quarterback options for BYU going into the summer. But for right now, I'm kind of at a loss and marveling at BYU's new recruiting tactics. It's just something we have not seen from the coaches as long as I can remember. Going after trying to flip Power 5 quarterbacks who are committed to big name programs like Washington and Texas A&M. It will be really interesting to see how this pans out. Thanks again for subscribing to the Daily Dose. If you have not yet, please do so. Please like this video. And until next time, give them hell.